Before I welcome our very distinguished guest, Senator McCain, I also want to acknowledge, and we really are quite humbled to have so many distinguished members of the diplomatic corps here, but we also have the Ambassador of Georgia. Will you please stand, Ambassador? Thank you so much. And we have been working very closely together on the Solidarity Sabbath initiative. Your presence here means a great deal to us. And also a representative from the Embassy of Romania. So we thank you also for being with us today. You know, there are a lot of really remarkable people in the United States Congress, in the House and Senate. But there's really only one person whose name has become synonymous for Democrats, for Republicans, for independents, for really every American, with the words courage and patriotism. He stands alone, occupies a space no one else does in our entire political landscape, as the ultimate profile in courage, as the ultimate patriot of our country, and as a man who my late father, Tom Lantos, admired more than any other member of Congress. Senator McCain, we are truly honored by your presence here and would like to ask you to come up and say a few words.
Well, thank you, Katrina, and it's a privilege to be with you today to speak at the annual commemoration. Is that a disgruntled constituent? Of the commemoration of the Tom Lantos Archives on Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial. This vividly important institution stands as a fitting memorial to a great patriot who knew the dangers and cruelty of despotism and dedicated his life to fighting tyranny and promoting the enduring values that we hold dear. I had the honor of serving in the Congress with Congressman Lantos, and his tireless efforts in defending human rights across the world, I think, had an incredible and indelible impact on me. I will always be thankful for Tom Lantos' leadership and example. My friends, this is a momentous time to be speaking on anti-Semitism. As we look around the world, we encounter upheaval and conflict like never before. I've often said that the United States and our allies in the international community are facing a more diverse and complex array of crises that we have experienced or faced since the end of World War II. Many of the threats emerging from these crises are new and unprecedented. Some we know all too well. From Paris to Brussels and back to the very heartland of Germany, we see the specter of anti-Semitism re-emerging throughout Europe. The kosher grocery store massacre in Paris, the murder of a rabbi and 3 children at a Jewish school in Toulouse, attackers throwing Molotov cocktails at a synagogue in Wuppertal, Germany, and the terrorist attack that killed 4 at the Jewish Museum in Brussels are just a few of the most prominent attacks in a long list of growing violence directed towards the Jewish community. While the horror of these attacks have rightly shocked the world's conscience and drawn the condemnation of many world leaders, there have also been smaller, less noticed incidents that suggest that perhaps anti-Semitism never really left us. Small protests in Germany where marchers yelled, "Gas the Jews." A shop owner in Belgium who posted a sign saying he would serve dogs but not Jews. And a conductor on a Brussels commuter train who announced a stop at Auschwitz and jokingly ordered all Jews to debark. In France, for example, Jean-Marie Le Pen, founder of the National Front Party and a popular politician, has frequently used anti-Semitic language and puns in her speeches. In Germany, Lutz Bachmann of the anti-immigration Pegida party was photographed posing as Hitler. In Hungary, the rise of the Jobbik party under the charismatic leadership of Gábor Vona, who has called on the government to draw up a list of Jews in the country who pose a national security risk, has made anti-Semitic rhetoric in vogue. And in Greece, a recent survey found that nearly 70% of adults hold anti-Semitic views which are openly expressed by the country's Golden Dawn Party. Such rhetoric and behavior from many of Europe's far-right parties reveal just how deeply ingrained anti-Semitism remains. While it would be wrong to compare 1933 to today, there is indeed a sense of familiarity there. After so many years of expressing regrets, and pledging never again, could it be that we are witnessing a resurgence of anti-Semitism in our political and economic discourse, and that such remarks and actions are becoming increasingly acceptable? For a millennium, a poisonous hatred of Jews, including persecution, expulsions, and massacres, were common practice in Europe and elsewhere around the world. Only after the shame of the Holocaust did anti-Semitism become intolerable. But I fear that perhaps our historical memory is fading, that never again has become another empty phrase. This is all too evident in Syria, where the world has watched the brutal massacre of over 300,000 people. But increasingly, we see it elsewhere too. And the fact that many within the Jewish community are openly questioning whether it is time for them to leave Europe suggests how deeply we've forgotten our sense of never again. Expressions of outrage and promises to fight against anti-Semitism with all means at our disposal, while necessary, bring little comfort. We all know that we cannot be silent, but we cannot allow words to replace action either. Moral outrage means nothing without the force of action to back it up. This means that all governments, including our own, must be bold in our outrage when we see anti-Semitism and categorically condemn its expression, even when doing so is inconvenient or unpleasant. We must, moreover, fully investigate and prosecute incidents of anti-Semitic violence, publish accurate data on attacks, and work with Jewish communities to assess their security needs and provide protection against violence, including training police and prosecutors and forging productive relationships between law enforcement and affected communities. Such measures will help address anti-Semitism, racist, and violent ideologies, but it's only a start. The need for a broad engagement strategy is urgent, and we must do more to challenge those purveyors of hate. Make no mistake, there are powerful reasons for America and Europe to prevent the spread of virulent anti-Semitism in the name of our collective national security interests and the preservation of our democratic values. We are deluding ourselves if we believe we can be complacent about rising anti-Semitism and its propagators without witnessing a weakening of democracy and security around the world. Put simply, these attacks should not be just be a source of heartbreak and sympathy to us. They should be a source of moral outrage and a call to action. History has taught us that anti-Semitism is not just a threat to the Jewish community. It is a threat to who we are and who we aspire to be as a people and as nations. Failure to meet the threat posed by rising anti-Semitism risks unraveling the incredible progress we have made in the wake of World War II toward building a just and peaceful world order based on respect for inalienable rights and dignity. Education is the first step. This is where the Tom Lantos archives on anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial plays such an invaluable role in disseminating vital and accurate information to create an informed public. But as we recall the horrors of the past, we must recognize that remembrance and awareness are only the start, not the end, of our responsibility to confront evil, defend truth, and unite in the face of the threats to our peace and security. There is a real and present danger posed by the growing strength of anti-Semitic forces in Europe and other parts of the world. When we saw the horrors of the Holocaust, we said never again and promised that it would finally be the end to the saddest chapter in world history. Shame on all of us if we let facile pledges of never again replace moral outrage and real action. With the assistance of this institution and the continuing memory of Tom Lantos, I remain hopeful that we will not let history repeat itself. Thank you very much.